Hi everybody, welcome to the painting channel. Today is all about a quick and easy bird. In this case it's a little egret. It's on an estuary somewhere down in the south of the country. So join me now, let's see what happens. Hi everybody, welcome back. As I said at the start, it is one of the quick and easy bird series, and in this one I chose a lovely little egret walking around a lovely estuary down in the south of England. It's an iconic bird. It has rapidly become one of our most favorite waders, right up there with the avocet and so many others. I just wanted to do something that's very quick, very simple, easy to draw and easy to render without too much fuss and too much information. Now, if you get to the end of this, and I hope you do, and you've enjoyed it, give it the thumbs up. That'd be fantastic. It really does help the channel grow. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me so much reach a much bigger audience around the world. And if you want even more than that, then don't forget, nip on over to my Patreon. So much on offer. There are tons of videos there, full length, fully narrated for you to learn from, get something from. All the reference materials there to use, download and learn as well, and have a go at yourself. There is a weekly live stream every Friday, British time, 7 o'clock. You're so welcome to get involved with that as well. And also there is a private Facebook community purely for me and my patrons to interact with each other, and I can give you help, answer questions and do so much more for you there. So worth taking a look, and it only costs you $5 or $10 a month. Nothing really, but it really does help you, and every penny you spend helps me to create more videos for you. So take a look, you'll be so welcome. In the meantime, let's get on and let's have a look at this beautiful little egret, little egret, very similar to the American snowy egret, but let's have a look, let's see how we get on. Take care, have fun, catch you in the next video. Bye bye. Okay, this is a lovely little egret, and I just wanted to create the essence of this bird as it's in the estuary. And if you think about it, we've got sort of two shapes. We've got a lovely shape. Don't want to make this too big for the picture, but we want this lovely area. There's a nice ball shape here, and then we've got a much smaller shape for the head here. So we've got essence of this thing walking away from us. So now we've got the sort of neck coming down, and then we come round with the wings, and all we're doing is just developing our picture as we go. We're doing it in a certain series of little shapes and little forms that create the feathering, and we can create the back of this bird, the lovely long feathers, and this beautiful sense of white or lovely light colour, which is in a sense all those plumes that the bird carries. Now this is just in the estuary, and it's looking for food in the soft mud, and it's not been around that many years. I mean, it's one of our new to have beautiful birds in the estuary. We love these things, we love seeing them, part of the heron family, and I think the counterpart is the American snowy egret, and they are stunning. And I think they're almost identical. They may be slightly different. I think that comes down to the fact that this one has yellow feet and black legs, and the snowy has yellow feet, black legs, but I'm sure it's got a yellow stripe down the back of the leg. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the technical difference between the two. Now I'm just looking at where the eye wants to be, somewhere around there, and then the beak. So you can see that we've got this lovely stabbing beak, very, very long beak, part of, like as I said, the heron type family. We've got our grey heron, we've got so many different herons and different waders from around the world. There's a nice bit for the head, and we're coming up here now, and we're looking at bringing that head into the body. So we've got that sort of shape. Now it's a case of just seeing and looking. It's a case of checking where one part is and lines up with another part. Lots of measuring as you go. For me, measuring is sort of almost second to anything else. Yeah, I mean, it's second nature is what I was trying to say. You just do it. but I just wanted to give that lovely sense of all these beautiful feathers. And I'm going to have to work in the negative space. So what I'm going to do is quite simply erase a lot of these pencil marks so that I know roughly where they're going to be. Take some of that beak out and just suggest where that wants to be. It's quite straight through there. And it comes down in a very, very strong, as I say, these are very, very strong beaks. And it comes down and up to meet there. That's how that looks. There's a beak and it comes out and long into the throat. And the shoulders come down and got a little area here, and then we've got around to the neck there. Now the neck, all animals, birds and animals, mammals, have 7 vertebrae in their necks, and that's why when you see something like a zebra, a giraffe move its neck, you can see it's almost segmented. But it's no different for these. These have very, very long necks, and when you see them, they are quite angular in the way they look. So bear that in mind when you're doing either a bird like this or indeed a native grey heron that we have and enjoy. Let's just put that down there, and then we're going to bring that leg down into the mud. I want this to be a fairly quick painting. I say quick and easy birds, and if this goes on too long, I will edit out the drawing section, but I hope not. I hope you get to see this. Anyway, let's bring that down like so, and then we've got the back toes, and we've got the toes coming forward. So it's just about making a step. It's just about taking a step forward, and that is all we need to suggest. Now we have a very, very scanty reflection and lots of little bits of mud. I'm not going to put too much of these in. I'm just going to indicate where this little weed or seaweed raised is there, and there's another one through the back there, and a couple up the top here. We may put those in, may not, but essentially our bird is drawn out, and that's all we need to do. Just checking now that my joints on the bird are about where they should be, and up into there, and the thighs, as it were, coming up into there, and just double checking everything. And then we've got the lovely plumes that come down there. Now they're going to be darker than the water around it, so that's good. I am going to work on putting all the lovely light tones in first. So let's just get on with that straight away and use the thicker of my brushes, clean brush, and I'm looking at the colours I want to use. Now I'm going to come in with some combination actually of my two blues. I'm going to use some, that's got quite a bit of dirt in that blue. Okay, let's do that again, and let's come in with some Ultramarine Blue and some Cobalt Blue mix. Make sufficient of it, because it's too late on a big wash to go and remix, especially for today. Today it's really, really hot in my gallery and in my office here, and it's just too much. The paint will dry. I'm putting a little bit of magenta into that too. Okay, so I'm going to mix that whole area up. Lots of water. I don't want a hugely strong colour. I would like it, however, to be quite a lovely soft tint of colour, and I'm going to come in all the way through with this and take it down in a big wash. I might drop some other colours in as I go, but I've got to work quite fast because, as I say, it's a very hot day and the colour is just wanting to dry up so fast. Now the painting is being done on a lovely 300-pound paper, which is Arches, and I think it's Arches or I can never remember which one, but yes, it's a 300-pound weight in paper anyway, and to that end it gives me a lot of flexibility, because the paint will nicely take the dampness, and it will keep it working for some time. As long as you keep this bead work and come right the way through that beak, not a big deal. Take that down all the way down through here, all the way down through here underneath the bird. I can take that all the way through there. It doesn't matter because everything around this bird now is going to be much darker than the water, so that really doesn't make an awful lot of difference. So our bird is just going to be isolated in all of this blue water. Lovely. I'm having to mix a little bit more magenta, a little bit more pink into that. That will work very, very well. Just putting some more water in one or two places just to allow some colour variation as we come on down with those colours. All the way down. I've got to work pretty fast, and what I do also need to do is just come in very, very quickly now. I need to clean up that colour, and I need to clean up my Indian yellow very, very quickly. Okay, and I just want to put in a little flush of Indian yellow, just the simplest flush, into here and give that lovely sense of light suffusion on these back feathers, just that little ambient set of colour and light in there. Hopefully that won't cause me the problem. Hopefully it won't anyway. But there we go, we've got a lovely sense of those feathers that will just bloom off into the background. Now let's quickly get back to our water, and we've got to work extremely fast now. Now we'll be adding some more values into this, but I need to get this one down very, very quickly. And I keep adding a bit more water, and I'm sort of not taking enough care of the amount of pigment. So let's quickly go back in there. Way too much red. Let's come back in with the blues. And lots more water. Come back in very, very quickly. And it doesn't matter also if I leave a few, actually quite nice, so I'll just leave some little sparkles in the water. Way down in the foreground here. It just adds to the whole thing. Look at the way that's blooming. I love that. That's just trying to get the set of wetness in there without being too wet that it just goes, or too dry where it just doesn't do anything. That is just the suffusion of bleed that I was looking for, and works extremely well. Okay, now I'm going to sit, wait, and get this to dry up, and then we can continue on. Okay, so that's now dry. Let's just come back in. I'm going to use a damp brush now, take a lot of the moisture out. Damp brush, and just try and lift one or two little areas here. Just disturb the paint, not too much. Just disturb the paint back to the white as much as possible, so you merely leave a very pale yellow stain. If you're happier, then just take that, dab that back, and that stops and prevents any area of light going off and causing you a problem in your blue water. Let's just take that off again and dab straight away, and just stop any water from disturbing the pigment, the blue pigment, and pushing it against the colour. It will leave awful lines, so just take that off. And what I've done is I've taken the yellow back almost to a white, not totally, but to a white, so you get that sense of yellow in there, but it's still a very, very bright light, and that's what I was after. Okay, so let's get the first colour down of some of this beautiful yellow seaweed, orange seaweed, whatever that seaweed type is. I should know, but I can't recall off the top of my head. But I'm using a combination of Indian yellow and some raw sienna together. And this is going to be just a first basic wash. I'm going to put a little layer of it up in here. And there's going to be the odd little tap down here, which is very suggestive of some of the reflection that might be going on. And I'm going to put that in there. This is all very, very quickly put in. I'm not trying to replicate exactly what's in the photo reference. I'm just merely trying to suggest what is there and my interpretation of it. So be mindful of that if you're doing your version of this from my reference photo. It will be found on my Patreon, so please look on there. You do not need to be a patron to use it, just freely download it. And I would suggest while you're there, take a look at the Patreon. You might enjoy what you see. There are tons of full, real-time, full-length videos, as I hope this one is, but there'll be others on my Patreon that you can enjoy, and it might be worth for the few dollars involved each month to get involved. You'll be so welcome. But don't worry, it's not a problem. It's not essential to use this reference. Please go on there and download it, and as long as you're learning from it, and you are free to welcome and use it, and I hope you enjoy the process. Right, I'm just going to put in 1 or 2 watering marks here that are sort of suggestive of a reflection. So where were we? Yes, there's a large body here, and this is, as I said, this is quite honestly just the first layer. There's darks and oranges to put in here, but it's very, very quickly established, very quickly done, leaving a little bit of blue or watery colours that are suggestive of little bits of light just creeping into this, and then I'm going to come back down here with more of the reflective masses, using up all this colour. It's going to get a lot darker over this side, so don't worry about that too much. I just want to indicate the seaweed. There's a big old mass of it, and you've got lovely yellow leaves, you've got orange leaves, you've got dark leaves, and there is more detail than there. That's also worth noting, that there's a lot of detail in the foreground parts of this, but yeah, don't worry too much about it. It's a lot of fun just playing around with this, and I'm not trying to paint individual bits of seaweed. I'm just trying to suggest lovely little bits and pieces that are going on. Now I'm not going to put that lump there, I think it detracts, so we're going to leave that one out, and I'm going to come back in with some umber and yellow, making a bit of a dirty, maybe a bit of blue in there, not too much. I don't want to make this sort of dirty colour, and quite weak as well. Let's make it quite weak. And these are lots of bits of mud. The water is ebbing away ever so quickly, and it's leaving little exposed areas of mud in the water, and this is where the bird is hunting for crustaceans and bits and pieces. All sorts are going on, and I'm just trying to replicate 1 or 2 bits of that, and leaving little bits of light as well, where you've got the mud is just glistening, and leaving little bits of highlights of the sun on the top. There's also a little, not so much, well actually there's very little reflective marks from these, but there are lots of them. They're all through here, and little taps will just, little areas like that, just suggesting them off of this area here, like that, into that weedy area, just 1 or 2 areas up through the back here. Be selective and be aware, do not try and paint patterns. We tend to, as human beings, see patterns with so many things. Try and avoid repetition and patterns. It's very, very hard, and we all succumb to it, we all fall foul of it now and again. But if you can be a little more aware of it, then it's well worth that. Making that a little bit more blue and little joined up, 1 or 2 of these shapes joined up as we go on. And I'm going to bring in some more, but I'm going to come across there where there's a bit of breeze in the water through there. I'm just going to come in and use a bit more blue in there. Just bring in 1 or 2 more taps, and then once this is all dry, this area, I can actually just pop in with a little glaze and suggest the area of the breezy water, as it were. So I'm going to leave that there. I don't want to do too much. Okay, that's probably enough in that area, and I keep saying that and add a bit more, but there you go. I mean, this is to, to suit you more than anything else, to suit you, and bring a little warmth as it comes back down into this area, and just add a few more blues and warms. It's a bit of a combination of the pair, really, blues and cools and warms, but try and make them. That's quite a nice little line through there. I'm going to soften that off and then increase it again as it comes a little bit darker, a little bit warmer. I forget what I was saying now. I was just going to say something, I completely lost it. But yeah, just try and you know, keep an eye on sort of the detail in terms of reality. Try and create something that is believable, not just dabs of colour in any given shape or form that have no bearing on what you're trying to do. Just try and relate the shapes to the reference, but they don't have to be exactly in those places. Just give way to suggestion and not try and find the actual element. That sounded right, but I think you get the idea. I think you understand what I mean. Now there are some, there's his chest, but there are a couple of little bits here that sort of go on behind, and that works well because it's very, very suggestive. And these are merely where little bits of the estuary are so shallow now that for these waders, and there are a number of them over there, loads of curlew. I'm not sure the actual pronunciation. It's Warrash, down near Portsmouth, that area. A good friend of mine, another artist friend of mine, lives in that area, and he took me here once, and it was just a delight. Had a great time, and did a bit of painting and lots of photography, and I just need to get back there and do some more at some point. And I know I've got, with my friend, I know it's an open invite, I've only got to turn up, and I'll be looked after by himself and his wife like a lord. They're just a splendid couple of people. And anyway, I digress. But let's come this way. Let's just bring a few more heavier, maybe a bit cooler. And so I'm very aware of the time, and I don't want this to become too laboured. And I've still got the bird to do yet. So this, I want to get this area done and established very, very quickly. And I'm just going to come in here with a suggestion of a murky suggestion of a reflection in the mud, and then back straight in with some of these areas. And I note there is a lot of blue colour from the sort of water around these lumps, so it's almost like a dab dot, and then that's sort of embroidered out with some of the mud and the different other colours surrounding those little bits of mud with the water. I'm working very, very fast. I do hope not too fast that I miss something. Easily done when you're doing this. Just try and be aware of every element that you need to cover. I've got that one in there. I'm going to put in a lump here as well, and then just tap off to one or two places there. Okay, I think that'll be enough, and I need to stop. What I want to do now is come in with my bird, and I'm going to use some of this blue with some Ultramarine Blue, predominantly a tap, just a mere tap of the Magenta, and I want to come in with a very, very soft, but using the sharpened edge. You can see how I've made that round brush into a bit of a chisel, and I just want to come in here and suggest the darkened feather in there, and that is a great contrast and looks beautiful against those lovely light values that we put in earlier. I'm just going to come straight the way through here now with these colours up and over the wing case there, and we can come in and darken that off further in. Just come around here, checking the neck and up through to the head like that, all the way down into the throat, and that will then go into the beak. And then we've got the lovely, I think I may have his chest ever so slightly too deep, but I'm going to live with that now. I'm not going to try and change that. Coming into the thighs and down underneath the body, the bottom of the bird, and up through to the back of the wings there. Nice, big, strong contrast statement. More blues and more of the red. Not too, that's way too much. I keep going too heavy with that. Let's come back in, and I want to put in a little bit of that brown. I want to make it a little grayer, as it comes down here. So I'm going to drop some of that colour in, making that a lovely deep shadow. Again, going to do the same thing around the base of the throat here. So that's nice and dark against that background. Might as well carry this all the way through here for the beat. Now the beat's got to get darker, but at least we've got that dark statement started. I'm being very careful that I do not destroy the shape of this beat. Very easily done at this stage. Be aware of that. We've got that lovely shadow in there now. Bring that round, take that over the head and down into the neck. Looking at some of that colour again as we come down here under the wings, just drop that in. Strong statement, strong darks. That's probably, if anything, a little high. I don't know. Let me just see if I can lift a bit of that back out. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to come away cleanly, but we may just lift a little. And that will be great. Now don't forget, if you're doing that, then just go back in and blot that out. Just dry it up so it can't do any more harm. And then if you've done that, I quite like what that did actually, that's quite good. And put that blue back in, a bit of pure blue into the wings themselves like that. We've got a couple of nice marks up in there. And a little bit more violet into some of those. Like that. Strong, quick, suggestive marks. Nothing more. Doesn't want to be too much. You're not painting feathers, you're merely indicating the light and the dark contrast within these feathers. And it's a beautiful shape, and this is why I do love these birds. I just love painting them, and I get so much from it. They're just so beautiful to see. Great to watch hunting. Many times I've been over to a local bird haunt called Aureolin or marshes. You've seen paintings from previous videos of me painting those, and I just sit and watch some of these really hunting in the last of the light, and they are just beautiful. They're so quick and they're depth, and they can spin on a ninepence, and yeah, they're just great to watch. Anyway, enough. I can go on about this all the time. Right, let's just come in and let's put a little bit of a little bit of raw sienna actually into the bottom under here, because there's a little bit of reflected light on there. Let's put that in very quickly. Doesn't need any more than that. That's more than enough. Maybe a little bit of yellow and a little bit of that sienna mix just in the bottom of the chest. Lift a little bit of that out, tap that away, come back in with some more colour because that's a little bit too strongly lifted, and let that just settle down into the blue. Actually add a little bit more blue into there, just drop it down into place. Very quickly now, just come in with some oranges, some little bit of warmth in there. Quickly and carefully. When I say quickly, I don't mean just go for it. Just a little bit of light into the back end there. And maybe just a little bit more into the shape, into that area under there. As it comes down into that back leg. And we've got that nice blue that comes back in there. Let's just drop that in, because that's the darkest part of our lovely bird. All this sort of area underneath the wings, around there, and that shapes into there quite nicely. And letting that run and fuse is just a lot of fun. Now I'm not really going to do too much more. I don't think I need to. I want to put maybe a very, very subtle hint. And I'm talking about so subtle I barely see it. And just suggesting that there are just one or two little bits of feather forms in here. Just want to tap most of them out, but if I do too much, it's just going to dirty the mix, and that's really not what I'm trying to do. I just want to suggest that there's a very powerful light in there, and with these beautiful feathers, and even that is potentially a little too rubby. I'm going to tap it, take a lot of it out, but you can start to see there's a bit more in there. Our bird is all but done. I'm going to come in with some indigo and a smaller brush, I think, just to make sure that I don't go too berserk. So smaller brush, indigo, little bit of orange. I love the combination of indigo and orange together. make a really dark black, but a warm or a cool one depending on your bias of colour. And let's just come in with those legs and a nice bit on the back and the elbow down like so. It comes all the way down there to meet the front feet on that front there. And then we've got this one here. Let's bring that down, and the nice big lump in the elbow again. Let's just take that down into the water, and just where that water is, there's a little bit of a sort of a reflection, a little bit of a disturbance, a little bit meniscus, I think, around the foot there. I did miss it a little bit, but I think we got away with it. Now I'm coming in with some yellow into that, some dark yellow, Indian yellow, and that will give me my leg form and my toes. I need to make them a little more yellow than that, so a little stronger, maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow as well. Very dirty cadmium yellow, but it will do the job, and just give me a suggestion of these beautiful yellow feet that these birds have, like that. Maybe come in with a bit more dark, a bit of a shadow underneath the foot, and then we've got the toes and the claws. Let's just put the two there, and we've got the dark back claw on this one. There we go. That's all it needs. We've got a little bit of a reflection from there, and that comes into that area. Maybe just suggest one there, nothing much. Okay, it doesn't need to be too much. We're done. Got the beak to do. Let's do the beak, and let's come in with our lovely indigo colour. Let's make a very strong dark statement with our beak. Remember, they sort of funny shape. They've got a very, very strong old stabbing beak. There we go. I think we've just done that quite nicely. It's probably a little too that way. I can't do much about that, to be quite honest. It's gone a little bit too much of a triangle shape, and I'm unsure. I'm going to try. I might regret this. I don't think it's going to let me get away with it. I'm going to lift that out. Okay. I don't think I'm going to get away with it. I will probably not do too much more than that, because I'm going to end up disturbing the sea around it. That's probably as far as I dare take it. I'm going to let that dry out before I go back in and give that a finish. Now my eye is too far back, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put my eye in there, and that comes down through to the beak there. And that's what I was trying to say. There's the beak now. That's the shape I was looking for in the beak, just to give it that lovely herony type of look to it, which goes into the eye itself. Bring that shape out a little bit more. The eye. I think we got away with it. It's not absolutely 100% perfect, but it is not that bad. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to come in with a bit of raw and burnt sienna. I just want to put in just 1 or 2 extra detail lines in here. You start getting a bit too finicky over it, and I'm sort of very close to playing around doing that. I'm going to leave that alone. I think I'm just going to come in here with some of these lovely blue-ish. Mine aren't blue. They should be more blue in terms of this. Just a little bit of light in there. Take some of that off. Come back in with some more blues. That's better. Let that take up that place, and let's just put in 1 or 2 suggested feathers, elongated feathers. Most of these feathers are with them a lot of the year, but they really do grow a lot more, the males, certainly in breeding season. Okay, so that's pretty much the bird is done. Let's come back in and let's look at both our siennas together, and let's just tap around in here and let's create some of these darker values, first and foremost in our weed, and you could have argued that I could have left a little bit of blue light from here and there to create the sparkles from the water. But I'm not overly worried. It's fine. It's as long as we can suggest what we want to suggest from this, it works. So I'm going to come in and just put in these darker values, and you can't see too much detail at this distance, certainly not on the black, on the dark one at the back. So I'm going to come in with some darker values on this side, because the light's coming from this way, as you can tell. I'm just going to bring that down into the water there. And we've got a bit of a reflection going on, let's just suggest that. Okay, and let's very quickly continue the same thing, but with more darks over here. So let's just put some more dark values in there very, very quickly now. Bring that all the way down into this area. I'm not sure how long this video is going on for, but hopefully it won't be as long as some of mine. You guys have to put up with some lengthy ones sometimes, but hopefully this won't be one of them. Anyway, there we go. Let's carry on. Let's get some of these darks in place through here and onto this part of the waterline. A bit of reflection, maybe a little bit more fluid in the paint colour, a little bit more red as well, a little bit more burnt sienna in times, and just drop them in. While you've got the damp paint working on the paper, drop colour into it, let it fuse, let it do what it wants to do. And this coming way along this way a little bit. It's a little bit heavy there. We could come back in with some of the siennas and some of the raw siennas, just a little bit more red. Even come back down this way and mix another lot of slightly darker yellow ochre into some of those colours. And just don't try and not to overdo it too much. We don't want too much detail in it, and I don't want to lose all that colour. I'm very much close to overloading and losing some of that colour. If I do, I can always just raise the bar a little bit and go a little higher, just to bring the suggestion of some of these warm values back into play, like that. Okay, we'll leave that one there. We will come back in very quickly now with the more detail in this foreground version. More of the same, more of the two colour combinations of both siennas working together. But here we're trying to put in a little bit more detail now. As we've got low detail, a little bit more detail, and here we're trying to put in a lot more detail, but without going overboard. Just be aware of that. You're not trying to create individual sort of leaves, as these are sort of, I suppose, would be called leaves for some of these, and some of the reflections, some of the marks, like so. Just tapping some up and a little bit up into there. That connects that area together. It's quite nice. It's not quite like that in the photo, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just creating some suggestive liaisons between one area and another, connecting it up. Now this has got to have more dark in it on this side, so let's bring some of that colour back in. Let's come back in with some of these dark values, because this is the furthest away from the sun, and some of the reflection as well. There we go. A little bit of light from the sea showing up, and I think in one of these I think it might be this. No, I think it is this one. There's a little bit of a blue watery haze. So I'm going to leave that in there and just bring that down like that. There's a bit of extra reflection into the water. And just carry that along through there. Just one or two this way. There we go. I think that's sufficient. Okay, now I wanted to put in that blue, didn't I? I was talking about this blue, and I'm going to come in with a little bit of blue colour, but I'm going to put in some Phthalo Blue and some Ultramarine together, and I'm just carefully going to see how certain aspects of that blue, a little bit more water, just certain aspects of that blue just help those umbers in that mud where it's receding. Just one or two areas just help support that. I think I quite like that actually. and maybe one or two up in here, just connecting some of these groups of mud with sort of water that seems to be sort of flowing in and around them. Just very, very dry brush, very, very broken. I think that's working. I hope it is. I'm going to bring a little bit more down through here so that there is a continuation between the two areas. And maybe a little suggestive piece on its own coming through the back there, right the way through where the legs are, and continue on so that you've got that line and the right look. There is quite a big piece up through the back there. I'm tempted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to bring that through there like that. I think that's all I'm going to do with that area. Bring that down that way. And I'm going to quickly swap the brush over and clean that one out just to continue some of those marks up through the back. Now I was using some Phthalo Blue, as I said, some Ultramarine and lots of water, and then just drag that through there. Could be a little yellowish, a little bit more red into that. Just take that through there, across there, and I want sparkles, so I'm going to literally let those areas of blue from the earlier part just pop in and out of their area there, and I quite like that. It just suggests to me that there is a bit of wind going on, and let's connect that through that area there. Make sure some of those have got it. A little bit up through there, and take it off that side too. I think that works very, very well, and it also holds the top of the picture in, which is quite important. There's nothing to stop people escaping as it's such, and we don't want to do that. I'll bring some of these values in here, just the same as I did up the top. They are using the bigger brush because we've got a bigger area to dry brush through. Let that go all the way through there, and some in through here. It's got a little bit of that violet in it, so come back with some blue, some of the Phthalo Blue. Actually, there's the wrong blue. There you go, right blue. Get the right blue. A little bit of brown in there, we said, and let's just drag that through. It's a little strong on the phthalo, but not too bad. I'm not unhappy. I'm actually going to use that. I think there's a little bit of neat Phthalo Blue got in on my brush, so I can take the worst of it out. But in all honesty, it's not that bad an idea. Just dry brushing, scratching it through there, just to leave a little sense of the colour on the paper. Now, it's not brilliant for the brush like that, but it does have a nice effect. Let's bring that down through there. And I'm gonna, this is pretty much dry, so what I'm gonna do is make a big mess of this up. Blue and phthalo, little magenta, maybe a little more magenta. Let's just come in. I just want to add a nice depth to this foreground. Now, it's not in the painting, but it does in a way suggest that there is a weight in the foreground which holds the whole of the picture together. I quite like that. I often do it in seascapes or bodies of water. Just helps suggest and keep that whole area supported. There we are. I think we're done. Maybe a little bit more through there. Now then, do I need to come any more? I'm going to put in, just very, very quickly, some darks, some real darks, some reds, some indigo blue, some real quite punchy darks. Just going to punch in one or two areas there that could be possibly too dark. Let's come in with a bit more of the red. Let's tap some of that out of it. I don't know, I'm not going to do it elsewhere. I might put some up there, but I quite like the idea of putting it in here. Just bringing some into the area of the reflection as well. There we are, maybe one or two, but in there, maybe up in there it's a little weaker. Bring some through and into there. Very, very suggestive, nothing more than that. Okay. I'm really quite pleased with the way this has gone. It was about the bird, and I've achieved what I wanted to do with that. And I got this beautiful picture of this egret. Really, really pleasing. You could come in, if you wanted to really keep working on this, you can do, oh, no, not that blue. You could actually use some of the Ultramarine Blue, take a little bit of dampness out of it, and just strengthen some of these darks. They actually want to be a little bit browner than the blue, so I'm just suggesting one or two dark areas that could be a little bit more of the mud. Don't want to overdo it. Very, very easy to go too far. So just make a few statements, not too many, but then I think you call it a day. One or two in there, like that. Trying to make it so it's not just around the bird itself. And if you want to soften anywhere like that, then just run a damp brush underneath the mark, and that works equally as well, like that. Same in here, anything that's too strong, little bit of damp brush under, ease off and lose some of those marks. I think that works very, very well. I'm happy with that, and we could always do more, but I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to sign the picture as I always do and move on to the next painting. There you go. Now I do hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you've got something from this, and just to show you how you can do a fairly quick drawing, fairly simple arrangement of colours on a white bird, and give it a little bit of something to walk around in, and hey presto, you've got a beautiful picture of an egret on a British coastal estuary somewhere. This happens to be down in Portsmouth. Enjoy. So anyway, the reference, as I said, is on my Patreon for you to download and use. Please feel free to do that, to learn from, and you'd be so welcome to have a look at the Patreon and get involved. Even with a $5 tier, you get so much for your money. You also, as I said at the start of this video, you get a weekly live stream, you get so much help. You've got a Facebook community with all my patrons interacting with each other and with me. So yeah, take a look and you'd be so welcome. Anyway, enough said. I am going to get prepped for the next week's video. This one will be out with you next Friday at 3 o'clock. Don't forget to tune in for that. I hope you enjoy it, as I say, and hope you get something from it. In the meantime, I wish each and every one of you happiness, happy painting. Stay safe, everyone. Take care. All the best for now. Bye-bye.
Heading back to what used to be home, passing by those little towns I know so well, stopping for gas and then I'm behind the wheel again. Driving this like a spiritual cleanse, where every mile is a new beginning and every bend holds a new end. Eyes on the road, don't lose control. I'm speeding fast to chase my soul. I'm driving